President Cyril Ramaphosa has wrapped up one of the most important consultative meetings with various sectors of society today on measures to be taken to ease lockdown restrictions sooner than the end of April. Ramaphosa co-chaired the virtual meeting of the National Economic Development and Labour Council to assess preparations for the step down from level 4. Stavros Nicolaou represents social partners in business at NEDLAC and also heads business for South Africa's Work Health Group. Good evening, Mr. Nicolaou. Thank you very much for joining us. By reading the statement from NEDLAC, it looks like we have a success in terms of, or greater chances are good that level 3 will happen actually sooner rather than the end of May.
So, Tammy, firstly, good evening to you and all the listeners, and thanks very much for having me. Certainly today's meeting was with the President and the social partners, included a number of cabinet ministers who have all been intricately involved in the different levels of the lockdown and determination there too. Was a very constructive engagement. I believe the President, I think despite all the pressures, was in good spirits. And I say it was a constructive discussion because we were able as business to present a number of facts, models that we've been working on for some weeks now. And our take as business, and this is the position we put to the President, was very receptive to, as with the other social partners, is that the initial 5-week lockdown, which was aimed at achieving two objectives. The first is the so-called flattening of the curve until such time as you better prepare your health services to cope with what's coming down the line. I think that objective has been largely achieved, and we're now moving to the post-flattening of the curve, post-preparation of the health services period. And that's where there was some consternation from business, because we felt that the progression to level 4 and the signals we were getting out of government progressing to level 3 and beyond that were probably not consistent with balancing the economic and the health picture in the country. We were concerned that in the first instance, the projections by our estimate was that the economy would contract at around 14 to 15%. Across both the formal and the informal sectors of the economy, there could be as many as 4 to 4.5 million jobs lost, and a budget deficit of around, a galloping budget deficit of around 16%. So this picture concerned us, and obviously the longer you delay the lifting of the lockdown, and understandably it's got to be done progressively, but the longer you delay that, the worse the economic picture begins to look. So what we advanced through our modeling to the President today and the other social partners was a picture that demonstrates that if you have a swifter, progressive unlocking of the economy up to levels 2 and ultimately to level 1 in a swifter period, the economic impact is going to be less. But you're also balancing some of the health imperatives, because, for example, we've picked up that many South Africans who suffer from chronic diseases are not getting the normal healthcare services that they require. So many of these patients are not presenting to hospitals and to doctors for their health care. And left unattended, these chronic diseases will end up causing a much bigger problem health-wise than the COVID pandemic does.
What about, Mr. Nicolaou, sorry to cut you, what about concerns that some in the business sector are not really ready with their personal protective equipment to actually move the country to level 3? It's all good and well for economic purposes to actually step down from level 4, but are your members ready to actually welcome more people back into the workplace?
Look, you make an excellent point, and in fact it was, you might have been listening to our conversation this morning, because it's exactly the point that the President made. He said, look, I'm not averse to lifting or a swifter lift to the lockdown. However, we have to put people's safety as a first consideration, and that's going to depend on how well prepared business is. Now, business being prepared means that you've got a COVID-ready work facility, that you've acquired the necessary screening capability and PPE capability in the various companies. And that's a very important point to make. And I think that the President will look continuously at the situation with the Council and see how ready is business. But now, business, on the other hand, feels that they have stepped up. There has been a significant ramping up of PPE procurement capability in the country, and it's certainly not in a perfect state as yet. And there's also significant ramping up of local manufacturing capability of PPE. So I think that picture gives us a lot of hope, and generally speaking to business, they are taking the lockdown measures seriously. And I have a good feeling and a good view, listening to our constituency, that business will be prepared and will walk the path of responsibly unlocking the economy and having regard for social distancing and the other hygiene measures that need to be implemented as you progressively unlock the economy.